welcome to Combat Thoughts. I'm Robbie.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Alex.
We're going to take a deeper look at the culture and philosophy behind martial arts. If you're happy to jump into it, I just sort of ask, how are you feeling about competing on Polaris?
Oh, I'm so excited, man. I've never gotten to do this show. I've always wanted to. It seems like they do just such a good job of really making it feel like an event, making it feel special. It's different than going to an IBJJF tournament and just competing and being kind of a fish in a huge sea of people. It feels a little bit different. So I'm so excited to go out there and just fight my best.
Sick. That sounds good, man. And how have you found? Well, I'm not sure what the restrictions are like where you are, but I know a lot of guys might have struggled to prepare for it. I mean, how have you found preparation for it with COVID or otherwise?
Yeah, the restrictions here have been pretty much lifted for a while now. Like, my life feels normal at this point. I go out to dinner. I don't wear a mask. I walk around the grocery store without a mask. Training is pretty much been full bore for a while. So, I mean, our area feels normal. So that's really helpful. Like, I don't really have restrictions in that sense. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just been continuing to work hard, trying to get looks from different people. The big thing that's been different for this event is training with bigger guys more often, because you never know if you'll wind up competing against one of the 95 kilogram guys.
Yes.
Yeah, so just want to be prepared for that. I saw a video of the raspberry ape ripping decks of cards in half. So I'm like, all right, I should probably roll some big dudes. Get ready for this, but it's interesting because you never know who you're going to fight. So it reminds me more of an IBJJF tournament in that sense of like, I want to have an idea of who's in my division, an idea of what they like to do, but I don't overanalyze one person, because who knows? I don't want to spend, like tens of hours of my life trying to figure out someone's game and then I don't compete against them. You know what I mean? So while if I have like a specific opponent, I'll get in the weeds a little bit more and do a ton of specific training from their best spots. But now I'm just, it's a little bit more general, rounds with bigger guys, still a bunch of specific training, a lot of the time from negative positions, like the saddle, like defensive saddle, turtle, the back, side control, things like that, just in case. And since the rule set is so heavily focused on submission, you want to make sure that you're comfortable in all the negative spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, on that topic regarding the rule set, I think more about maybe the general overarching rule set rather than the specific matches. What's your opinion on the teams? Well, I guess team Jiu-Jitsu in general, and then maybe more specifically Polaris.
I don't know, man. To be honest, I haven't. I've watched a few of the events, and I always thought it was cool, but it's hard for me to say until I'm there and I've done it. I imagine it's going to feel really fun, just having like a bunch of Americans cheering me on, that are all like on the side of that, all competing as well. I know a bunch of them too, so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I've never done an event like that. I mean, it seems really fun. It seems a lot more spectator friendly and a lot more like a show, which I dig. I think that, as a competitor, I think so often you just focus on winning, right? You're like, I just want to get the win. I want to progress through this tournament, but knowing that it's just a draw if you don't submit them makes you more inclined to go after it, put on more of a show, not just because that's what the rules require, but I think that that's what the event kind of embodies, so I'm just so excited to just go out there and just let it fly. And it's fun. It's also been fun kind of figuring out how to adjust to that rule set in training. I've been, as you get more experienced, I think that you find you have like several different modes. Like, I can train many different ways. I can train and be kind of, like for example, when I first started training for this, I was like, maybe I'll just be like really aggressive submission guy. And I'm like, okay, that does have some value, but I also see where it has some flaws. You could also train and be like point guy, but obviously in this rule set, that's not going to help you out. So it's kind of finding the balance between the two. And yeah, just like figuring out a way to grapple like yourself, but also let the rules kind of, just have some influence over what you're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you like the sort of the national aspect of it? You mentioned you're going to have a load of Americans cheering you on.
I think it's cool. I mean, especially with the Olympics going on, it makes me feel like, just like like pride for country, I guess, but it's at the end of the day, it's such an individual sport, and it is cool that we're all on the same team. I guess that is different for this event. But I don't know, man. I think jiu-jitsu has really found a way to connect people, anywhere that I've gone, I've always been able to make friends through jiu-jitsu, and, race and creed just don't matter really, and that's a cool thing. I'm sure that if I went to the UK and Polaris wasn't happening and I went to some gyms, I would make friends, and I would have places to go, and, people would tell me, like cool local things to do. And I find that really unique. So I'm not really looking at it too much of like USA versus Ireland or UK, I don't let that get to me too much. I mean, it's like, of course I want to do well for my team. I want to perform as well as I can. Like to take it home for America, but it's like, I'm just excited to be there and to compete against tough guys,
Yeah, no, I feel that. And regarding the guys you are competing against, is there anyone you're looking forward to or not looking forward to coming up against?
Honestly, all of them are really exciting grapplers, which I think is so fun. I mean, Tom Halpin is great. He's probably like, I think we're closest to the same size, so I think a match with him would be awesome. Especially, I think we have somewhat similar games, so I think that would just be a really cool match. Any of the 77 kilogram guys, I'm excited to look forward. I look forward to competing against. Halpin, I think, would be really interesting. Nichols, I mean, all of them. I was just watching Jed Hughes matches. I didn't know who he was before the event. He's fucking really good. He's got a cool game, good passing, good outside foot locks. He's, really interesting jiu-jitsu. Daraz, obviously very, very good. I've known him for a long time. I've never gotten to compete against him or even train with him. So, I would be really excited to compete against any of the 77 kilogram guys. And then also against the bigger guys, I think it just creates different problems, and I've always done very well against bigger people in training. So I'm excited to see how that matches up. It's with this rule set, you can't be emotionally tied to, I'm going to compete against this person or that person. You just have to prepare yourself for anything and just be ready to fight hard. So yeah, I'm really excited about any of them. I'm more familiar with the 77 kg guys just because that's kind of the weight class that I follow. Mm-hmm. But the bigger guys all have really good jiu-jitsu. Bradley Hill is also a really, really, fun competitor to watch. He came to Marcelo's like a few years back. I mean, I say few, probably like 6 or 7 years ago, mm-hmm. when I was training there, and I never got to roll with him, but I've always been a big fan of his. So I think it would be cool to compete against him as well. The interesting thing is like, when I watch some of the guys compete at Polaris, it really feels like a show, so I'm just excited to be in that element, and that kind of match. And I always like being the kind of David and the David versus Goliath, type matches. So I think it would be cool and exciting to get to compete against the big guys, do my best, hopefully hit them with some shit they haven't seen before,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the whole the weight disparity dynamic is quite interesting in that it can create horrible mismatches where someone gets crushed, and that's quite good for spectators. But it also creates situations like Gio and Haysam Reader. I really hope I pronounced his name right. But again, awesome when it goes the other way.
Right. Yeah, really cool. And also when I was reading through the rules, if the 77 kg guy submits a 95 kg guy, they get more points for their team. So you do have to be mindful of those matchups. There is risk to putting a bigger guy against a smaller guy. If you're ahead on points do you really want to give the smaller guy a chance to get back into the fight, to get their team back into the fight? So it's just being aware of you know, how you're creating the mismatches, what you're trying to do. Also, like, you don't want to sleep on anybody. This is a division full of talented guys. You know, we could pit one of our bigger guys against one of their smaller guys and it not work out for us, you know? So you just want to be, I think, somewhat strategic in how you select the matches, but I'm actually really interested to sit down with the Team USA guys and kind of figure out what our team's plan is as far as how we're going to, you know, select the matches and who we think we match up best with and who we'd like to get a look at. You know, there's guys on their team that I watch their matches. I'm like, yeah, I think that my jiu-jitsu fits well against them. Don't want to say too much, but, you know, like there's matches that I think are more favorable than others. But I think that at the end of the day, the rule set promotes action. So good jiu-jitsu is going to happen. When I think about a match versus some of the bigger guys where maybe they just want to stay really low, stay on their knees, disengage, that could be really challenging. But when I think they got to come submit me, I'm like, all right, there's definitely going to be opportunity to counter, you know? So yeah, it's just, I'm excited, you know?
Yeah, well, I think part of Polaris and a lot of shows in general is that they not only do the rules encourage action, but I think most, if not all of the competitors will go there with the opinion that it's a show. It's something you want to put on. You want to keep movement. People have got that attitude that it's meant to be.
Yeah. The environment requires action, you know?
Yeah. Especially if you want to get invited back or anything like that, you know?
Right. I'm not trying to, and also for me, I'm not trying to travel all the way to the UK to have some boring matches where I just stall the whole time. You know, I'm trying to go out there and fight and have performances that I can be proud of, you know, win, lose, or draw. I want to look back at my matches, not just now, but later in my life, and be proud of the way I fought. And I've had matches in the past where maybe I win the tournament, but I win by an advantage. And I'm like, it just feels gross. It doesn't feel, you don't feel that like satisfaction from how you fought. And I've had matches where I lost and I fought really well. And it's like, well, I think I'm more proud of that than the match I won. So I think at the end of the day, for me now, do I want to get the win? Of course. Do I want to have the good results? Of course. But really what's most important to me is letting my best jiu-jitsu out and performing the way that I know I can.
Absolutely. And is there any change with the fact that you're competing abroad and you're competing in the UK?
I mean, I've competed overseas a bunch, and also I think the time zone, you guys are just 3 hours ahead of us, right? So it's not like something what is like it? That, it's 2:30 there, around that 2:30 in the afternoon.
No, it's 4:30.
It's 4:30.
Yeah, we're 5 hours ahead of you, I think.
We're 5 hours ahead. Okay, that's good to know. Okay. All right. Well, either way, I'll have to adjust a little bit, but I don't really see it being that big of a deal, especially because I think we're going to compete a little bit later at night. So, you know, it's not like it's going to be, you know, 1 in the morning when I'm fighting on my time, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I think the only thing is, with the restrictions, I know we're not going to be allowed to do too much over there. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I would like to go out and explore and see the area.
Actually, I don't think you'll have any trouble.
Oh, really? Are the restrictions completely lifted?
Yeah. Pretty well, not completely, but pretty much. You bring a mask and you should be good. I mean, you might have to book some stuff, but yeah, you can go and explore and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm allowed to, that would be awesome. I'm not completely sure. I think right now I'm just focused on the tournament, but fuck, man, I'd love to see the UK a little bit. I've never been there, so it'd be a lot of fun. Yeah,
you'll be good for it. I mean,
my friend was telling me I got to get the blood sausage. That's what they were saying. It's like what?
Blood sausage? Like black pudding.
Black pudding, yes, black pudding. That's what he said. That's what I should eat.
It's not a huge bit of our culture, but
no.
Yeah,
he made it. He hyped it up. He hyped it up so much. What should I do? What should I eat?
What should you eat? You know what? I think black pudding is one of those things. It's like a haggis to the Scottish. They don't eat it every day, but if you're going to have a full English breakfast, it's like one of those traditional things you got to add to it.
Gotcha. So you don't do that often?
I don't have any black pudding in my house. I have never had black pudding in my house, but yeah, I guess thinking about it, it's like one of those quintessential English, like full English breakfast things.
Okay.
Yeah, get it, try it. It's good.
Okay.
put some people off the fact that it's called blood sausage and black pudding or whatever, but
yeah,
it's great.
I'll give it a try.
Sure. Oh fuck, where was I at with the competition? Let's see. Oh, I was wondering another thing regarding you mentioned that well, I was wondering if you do come up against the big guys, do you have a different strategy that you might be employing? Not to give too much away if you don't want to. It just struck me, you mentioned Marcelo before, and as far as I can tell, Marcelo's game has partly been shaped by the fact that he was competing in absolute divisions from day one, which
Yes.
I understand is why he's not such a fan of the Kimura, for example, but he
Right.
does have a huge emphasis on, well, chokes especially. Have you got a game influenced in that way for competing against big guys, or is it something different?
Yeah, I mean, I think that to some degree, especially when the focus is submission, right? I mean, I guess I assess what I think I'll be able to make happen in 5 minutes against a bigger guy. And there's certain moves that you'll, I guess, tier a little bit higher, and other moves that, like, hey, maybe this isn't the tool for the job, just like sometimes you need a hammer, sometimes you need a screwdriver. So I would just say that against the bigger guys, my priority against everybody is to keep myself safe, not get hurt, not get injured, not be in position where they can damage me. Mm-hmm. With the bigger guys, you have to take that just a bit more seriously. Not that the smaller guys can't hurt me, but there's things that the bigger guys can do that you can't make happen in a smaller body, not quite as easily. So I would just say I'm going to be a little bit more aware of some of the transitional submissions, and also I think every grappler has submissions that they're a little bit more comfortable grappling through. Maybe some people like countering the heel hook. Maybe some people like trying to counter the arm lock or the Kimura or the guillotine. And I think that if you grapple in that kind of way, you have to be mindful of what you're willing to give up, what you're not willing to give up, and what you may or may not be willing to give up against somebody that outweighs you by a significant amount. And it's also not just outweighs you, but they're also all very talented. So it's not this situation where I just have to worry about an opponent that's bigger or stronger than me. I have to worry about those things plus somebody that's very good as well, and that also has maybe skills that maybe they're better than me in certain places and I'm better at them in certain places. So it's figuring out where to grapple and how to make it matter. But to be honest, the way I think about jiu-jitsu now is much more about movement in space. So I'm going to try to move through spaces as well as I can, and express my jiu-jitsu as well as I can. And if a big guy tries to get a hold of me, I hope I'm not there.
Nice. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Regarding jiu-jitsu in general, what are you hoping to achieve over the next year or 2 years?
I don't want to give like a specific goal, really. I mean, my focus over the last few years, really since I moved to Virginia and started to train with Ryan, has just been development as a martial artist. I want to be as good as I possibly can be, and that means focusing on the areas that I'm weak, and just seeing where everything fits together. So do I have competitive goals? Like, do I want to make it to ADCC? Absolutely. Am I going to do the trials? For sure. Will I be out there at Nogi Worlds? You bet. But my focus for all of these events is to fight my best, let my best jiu-jitsu out, and in the time leading up to the events, just continue to improve, continue to develop, and be the best Adam I can on game day. And that's all we can really control. Yeah, I think for a long time I really focused on winning, and that is great. Like, everybody wants to win, but I want to. I think having the little day-to-day goals as far as what you need to do to get that result has been really helpful for me. Like, you and I probably both would like $1 million, but what are we going to do today to make that happen? How are we going to get a little bit closer to that? So I find having these little baby goals along the way has made getting to the long-term goal a little bit more I guess it just feels more accessible, less like a reach, just focus on the little things I need to do every day to get to where I want to get.
Yeah, it's more about sort of rungs in a ladder rather than just trying to get to the top.
Exactly.
Regarding current affairs, there's obviously the Olympics is on at the moment, and there's occasionally big debates in the jiu-jitsu community about getting jiu-jitsu into the Olympics. Do you have any strong feelings on that kind of thing?
I'd love jiu-jitsu to be in the Olympics. I think all of us would. It's just jiu-jitsu is getting more and more professional. It's happening. It's changed so much over the last decade. I think that will have to continue to improve. The steroid abuse is a huge issue. I think that needs to be addressed. It definitely seems like a lot of people are on the gear, and that's something that I take seriously. And I don't think that we're going to be making our way into the Olympics until there's more of a spotlight on that, and there's more resources kind of set towards actually dealing with that issue. Because I think right now it's just they test you at the major tournaments, like the gi worlds, and only if you medal. So it's like, man, people, if you get caught, you're probably an idiot, and people are still getting caught, but it's just, man. I mean, I've always thought that the idea of taking steroids was gross, just because I don't want to, if I can't do it straight up, like if I can't accomplish what I can straight up, I don't want to cheat to do it. I'd rather know for myself that, hey, I did my best and I couldn't do what I did, but at least I tried, I tried and I gave it everything I had, versus you don't think you can do it, so you just take it, and maybe you get the results, maybe you don't. But I imagine if I took steroids and got the results, it would feel very lackluster to me, because I knew I cheated. And then also, just from a moral standpoint, we're not out there playing golf. We're trying to hurt each other. So I don't like the idea that people are cheating in this game that, has serious repercussions, like people can get injured, people's lives can be changed. So that I don't think is right. And I don't think that it's something that is going to make it to the Olympics until there's some more emphasis on that, Nope, and then from what I've heard also, there's like, I've heard, I was watching an interview with somebody who was talking about judo in the Olympics and how there's a big steroid problem in judo. So it seems like this is something that goes from sport to sport, but I would love to see that changed. Obviously, as someone that walks around at 155 pounds, I definitely don't want everyone around me doing steroids. But I think that's an issue. And then also, I just think like, Jiu-Jitsu being professional is what's going to take us there. If it's not, people aren't going to look at it as a sport that deserves to be there. And I think that the rule set also just needs to be something that's exciting. Like, we could not be in the Olympics with just classic IBJJF rules. It's too boring. People aren't going to watch. So I think it would have to be the right rule set that was entertaining, promoted action, had aggressive stalling calls. Like in wrestling, you can't just back up, but in sport jiu-jitsu, people back up all the time, and nobody gets called for it. So I think just some adjustment of the rules, more consistent steroid testing, and just continued professionalism is what would get us there.
Do you have a preference for a rule set that might, well, not just for the Olympics, but generate an exciting match?
I thought that the third coast grappling rules that I did were really good. Honestly, that was the first time I competed in that rule set, but I thought that was great. It was 7 minutes, and I think you could change the time. You could make it more or less, but I thought 7 minutes was a good place to start. It was submission only, but they counted points, and if you got 11 points, it would be a tech fall. So it created this scenario where everyone's trying to tap everybody. But if you rack up so many points, it's just over, right? You lose. So I think that gets rid of the whole, like, we're doing submission only and guy just tries to not get tapped for the duration of the match if he's losing, because he knows he's going to start on your back. So I think being able to navigate that is important. I also really like the Kasai rules. I thought those were great. I think they were giving a point for an actual point for advantages. And I thought that that was a nice adjustment. You know, like I don't like the idea that like maybe you time my guard pull, get 2 points, and then I almost tap you 10 times and you spend the rest of the round running and then you win. You know, I think that real, like a real advantage, a real submission threat, a real sweep threat should be worth more than just if it's a tiebreaker. You know what I mean? I think they should be worth an actual point. So I think it probably some combination of Kasai, Third Coast Grappling, and ADCC, you know? And the IBJJF rules are I guess what's more universal. So yeah, it would just have to be a combination of those things where I like the idea that if a person racks up a certain amount of points, the match is over, because it really, you feel a sense of urgency. I'm like, man, I can't let this person score. I can't let them do this. I can't let them do that, you know? And I think that's exciting. And then I think also just, again, it would have to have more aggressive stalling calls. Maybe top person needs to keep the bottom person down. That's the biggest thing that I see in sport jiu-jitsu. It's just like an agreement that one person will stay on the bottom, one person will stay on top, and then the top person stays on the outside and doesn't really try to pass. I would like to see something like if the top person backs up X amount of times, they get a stalling call.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think, yeah, I don't know about a specific rule set, but I think your point about the stalling calls is probably pretty on point. Just the fact that you need just something to get people to engage more.
Yeah, something to make people engage. And I don't think that, you know, I don't think that the sub-only rule set is quite what you need for the Olympics, just because you need points, you need there to be a winner or a loser. And also I think that the sub-only rule set sometimes incentivizes stalling, you know, just because you know that, like, for example, if I'm in a match with somebody in Polaris, and there actually is stalling calls in Polaris, which is a nice change. But let's say I'm up big and I'm on their back, and they know that there's 20 seconds left. They just need to not get tapped, and it's a draw, right? So they're less incentivized to make an effort to really escape if there's short time, because they know that just not getting tapped is a draw, right? But what if I went from back to mount? I would get 4 more points and that would end the match. You know, that would be a tech fall or whatever the case may be. Then they're a little bit more incentivized to not just defend the submission, but to escape, not let the other person score. So I think it would have to be some combination of, you know, like a submission friendly rule set, but with points somehow involved, and also more aggressive stalling calls.
Yeah, well, I think one of the strengths of jiu-jitsu as a sport is the fact that we're flexible with the rules and people can generate their own rule sets. So there has been an explosion recently of new rule sets coming out. So I'm very interested to see what becomes most popular in the few years to come.
I think a lot of the different kind of.
Oh, sorry, we've got a bit of delay. Sorry, I thought you paused. Go ahead.
I was just I'm getting the lag a little bit too. I was just saying that I think that you know, as the sport grows more and more, all these different events and promoters are playing around with different rules, figuring out what's most exciting, and that's great for the sport. You know, even the IBJJF is changing things around. You see how they added heel hooks for the brown and black belt division. I think that's going to make things way more exciting. I think the Nogi Worlds this year is going to be probably the best Nogi Worlds we've ever had, and hopefully that can rise to the prestige of something like ADCC. You know, I feel like Nogi Worlds has always been kind of on the back burner as far as like prestige goes. Like the Gi Worlds mean so much more, and it's always been like Gi Worlds and ADCC. I don't see why Nogi Worlds couldn't be that with the right rule set and the right competitors and money, right? Like, why are they not paying us? You know, the IBJJF makes so much money. How are you not paying your black belt world champions a dime? So yeah,
it's a fair point, and it's interesting to see how that might get fixed, because it's quite hard to do at the moment. I mean, there's not much leverage from the black belt side of things.
Right, because everyone's going to show up anyway, you know?
Yeah, unless you want to boycott it.
But that's not going to work, you know, because you can boycott it, but someone's going to be black belt world champion, you know? So it's not like all the competitors are just going to like send a group text and not show up to the division. You know, someone's going to wind up showing up and getting that medal.
It's a hard issue to fix.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So I have one more question about Polaris, and
Sure.
thank you so much for giving me your time, because I know I said
Of
10,
course.
15 minutes, and we've just run way on.
Oh, it's okay.
I know your opinion on men wearing leggings in Jiu-Jitsu, but you've got a lot of 10th Planet teammates. Is that going to cause some friction?
I don't think so. I might ask them. Hey, why are you wearing women's pants? Why are you wearing women's pants to practice? I actually like the leggings. I wear leggings. I just wear shorts over them, you know. But yeah, that's been like an ongoing joke in our gym. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what the vibe is like. But I think that Geo and Boogeyman wear shorts, don't they? They we at least wear shorts over the leggings.
They do, and I'm pretty sure
They do.
John Blank doesn't wear just leggings either. So you might be all right.
Right. We might be all right. If not, I'll just say, hey man, I can see your penis. Please put on some shorts, you know?
So, man, thanks for your time. Look, I don't want to keep you any longer if you need to get to watching the judo comp. But
yeah,
look,
thanks so much for having me, man.
It's been really interesting. Cheers.
All right, cheers.